I just wanted to finish today by going back to the issue that I raised at the start, which is this court case from Ngāi Tahu, seeking essentially co-management of all fresh water in the South Island. Now, as I said at the start of this program, an efficient, effective government, a la Helen Clark, would recognise the danger that this court case represents to democracy in this country, but also to the well-established political principles that were put before the New Zealand public at the last election by National Act and New Zealand First, in particular, those coalition parties that form this current government. And one of those was to stop in its tracks co-governance in this country, essentially gifting natural resources and their management to a particular class of people based upon their ethnicity and how long their ancestors had been in the country compared to all other New Zealand citizens. Now, this Ngāi Tahu case is designed essentially for Ngāi Tahu and the Crown, but Ngāi Tahu are the key here, that is the major iwi, whose interests span much of the South Island, to co-design water management, freshwater management in the South Island. They say their claim isn't about owning the water, okay, so that is what the chairman of the Ngāi Tahu, Justin Tipa, says, but it is. He's not telling, I think, the truth. He says it's not about challenging the Crown's right to govern, or about legislated treaty principles or whatever else other people might claim. In other words, he's not suggesting that what Ngāi Tahu do could possibly have influence upon other iwi in other parts of the country, but I'd have to say that's either the most incredible naivete or the most obscure political obfuscation I think I've ever come across. Of course it is. But he then says, and so just to countermand or contradict exactly what he's just stated it's not about, he says, and I quote, "It's about acknowledging that Ngāi Tahu, an iwi and a collective legal identity, holds specific rights, legal rights regarding fresh water in our takiwa, or our area, including the entitlement and the obligation to exercise authority over its responsible management." And the argument is, because they've been there forever, well, for a long time, they are deserving of that particular right and responsibility. Now, if that's not owning the water, I'd like to know what it is. It clearly is. You are owning the right to determine who can use the water under what conditions. And we already know that Ngāi Tahu, or at least segments of Ngāi Tahu, have effectively committed some form of interesting, usurious regime with Mercury Energy, and how consents should be applied to water that is used for hydropower or hydroelectric power generation, from which all New Zealanders, including Maori and Ngāi Tahu, benefit. And so their, one might claim, extortionate demands for $100 million worth of Mercury funding so that they wouldn't appeal the consents or the reconsents that Mercury Energy was after, would not be opposed. But this is, I would suggest to you, more false narrative from Ngāi Tahu. Let's be very clear here. They are after the management of all fresh water in all parts of the South Island, and they intend to reap a commercial benefit or reward for such. And they will impose that upon all presumably non-Ngāi Tahu entities to enrich themselves and presumably their leadership. Can I just say, where is the government when you need them? And if Helen Clark could stop this sort of nonsense to do with seabed and foreshore, 20 years ago, it's about time this government stepped in and stopped this nonsense now too. Those are my thoughts. What are yours?